This is from Jamie in Seattle, USA. I think I didn't realize how much one small envelope could affect me. When I opened my mailbox that day and saw handwriting I didn't recognize, I honestly thought it was a mistake or junk mail. Growing up, I had a dad, but he wasn't really involved in my day-to-day life. He wasn't unkind, just distant. We didn't talk much, and I don't remember him ever saying things like, "I'm proud of you," or anything close to that. As a kid, I noticed other people's dads being more present, showing up to games, checking homework, giving advice. I didn't get that. It wasn't dramatic or anything. It just felt like something that was missing, even if I didn't say it out loud. As an adult, I kind of brushed it off and told myself it didn't matter anymore. I had my own life, my own routine, and I figured childhood stuff should stay in childhood. But every once in a while, something would remind me that I still felt that gap. One night, I was scrolling on my phone before bed, and I came across a TikTok of a woman talking about her dad. She said he writes handwritten letters to people who grew up without father figures or didn't have much emotional support. I almost kept scrolling, but something about the calm way she explained it made me stop. It didn't feel like a gimmick. She said he started writing letters after retiring, and hundreds of people had reached out for one. My first reaction was, okay, that's nice for other people, but not something I would ever do. It felt strange to imagine asking a stranger to write me a father-type letter. It sounded childish at first, and I didn't want to admit that I might want one. But the longer I thought about it, the more curious I felt. I clicked the link she shared. The form was simple: name, address, and a short explanation of why you wanted a letter. I stared at it for a while, unsure if I should actually fill it out. Eventually, I wrote a short message saying I grew up with a distant dad and that I wondered what it might feel like to hear encouraging words from a father figure. It wasn't emotional or dramatic. I just explained it plainly and hit submit before I overthought it. After that, life got busy again. I went to work, ran errands, and didn't think much about it. Every time I checked the mail, part of me wondered if a letter would show up, but I didn't get my hopes up. I assumed they had way too many requests to ever reach mine. One day, after work, I checked the mailbox like usual. Mixed in with the bills and coupons was a plain white envelope with neat handwriting. It didn't look like a company letter or advertisement. For a second, I just stood there staring at it. When I got inside, I sat on my couch holding the envelope for a while. I felt weirdly nervous to open it. It's strange how something so small can make you feel unsure, but I wasn't used to getting anything handwritten, especially not something personal. I finally opened it and saw a folded piece of lined paper, written in steady handwriting. The first sentence said, "Hi Jamie, thank you for trusting me with a little piece of your story." I felt my chest tighten a bit when I read that. He went on to introduce himself as one of the dads who volunteers to write letters. He said he hoped I didn't feel strange for asking, and that a lot of people grow up wishing they'd heard more support or encouragement. I didn't expect a stranger to say something that understanding. A few lines later, he wrote, "You've made it this far, and that already says a lot about who you are." It wasn't anything dramatic, but it felt surprisingly reassuring. I didn't realize how much I needed to hear something like that until I read it. He added that even adults deserve to feel supported, and that it's never too late to hear someone say they're proud of your efforts. Reading that made me stop for a moment. I didn't cry or anything, but I did feel something loosen inside me. The letter wasn't long, maybe one page front and back, but every line felt sincere. It didn't try to fix anything in my life, or give me advice I didn't ask for. It just sounded like a steady, kind voice talking directly to me. By the time I finished reading it, I realized I was sitting very still, like I didn't want to break the moment. It felt strange, in a good way, to receive something genuinely caring from someone who didn't know me at all. Did you know? Studies show that kids who grow up with a consistent father figure or supportive adult, biological or not, often develop more confidence and emotional stability. And even later in life, hearing steady, encouraging words can still strengthen how we see ourselves. After the fact break, I went back to reading the last lines of the letter. He ended it by saying, You deserve support, and I'm glad you reached out. It was simple, but it hit me harder than I expected. I sat there rereading it a few times. I set the letter down on my coffee table and just sat there for a while. It wasn't dramatic or overwhelming. It was more like feeling a small part of myself relax for the first time in a long time. I didn't even know I'd been carrying that much tension. I found myself reading certain lines again because they felt unfamiliar in a good way. Things like, "I'm proud of how far you've come, and you're doing better than you think." It felt strange hearing that from someone I had never met, yet it felt genuine. After a few minutes, I folded the letter back up and set it carefully inside the envelope. I didn't want it to get bent or damaged. It felt important to keep it safe, even though I couldn't fully explain why. Later that night, I kept thinking about how a complete stranger had taken the time to sit down, choose his words, and write something kind, just for me. It made me wonder why it's so rare for us to say supportive things to each other, even when it would help. The next morning, I woke up and read the letter again before going to work. It didn't magically fix anything in my life, but it gave me a steady feeling I wasn't used to, like someone was quietly rooting for me from far away. I ended up putting the letter in the drawer next to my bed, not because I wanted to hide it, but because I wanted it close. Just knowing it was there felt comforting, especially on days when I doubted myself more than usual. A few days later, I told a close friend about it. I expected them to think it was strange, but they didn't. They just said, "Honestly, that sounds nice." And it made me realize that a lot of people probably wish they had someone telling them those things too. Reading that letter didn't change my whole life, but it changed the way I talk to myself. When I'm being too hard on myself, I sometimes remember one of the lines he wrote, and it helps me slow down a little. I still don't know who the volunteer dad was or anything about his life, but I think that's kind of the point. He wrote those words because he wanted to, not because he expected anything back. That alone made the letter feel even more meaningful. If someone had told me a year ago that a handwritten letter from a stranger would give me a sense of comfort I didn't know I needed, I wouldn't have believed it. But it did, and I'm glad I took the chance and asked for it, even if it felt awkward at first. If you've ever wished someone would tell you the things you needed to hear growing up, you're not the only one. Getting this letter didn't fix everything, but it gave me a sense of support I didn't know I'd been missing. If this story resonated with you, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, and consider liking and subscribing if you want more stories like this.